Hi, hello, and welcome to 1111 Divine Lovers Series, brought to you by Vertex of Abundance. My name is Serene Priestess Gorgeous, also known as the Blosi Baba. I'll be your oracle today. I was sent to deliver my findings for the Divine Partnership Connection. Okay, so we'll be doing the Divine Partnership Assessment today. That'll be going to the collective. The cycle is September cycle. Okay, so the new moon is in Libra. Okay, so the guidance will be from the divine masculine. The findings will be the feminine. So the findings, the divine feminine, is closer this month to the camera. And the side further away will be mainly where we get the guidance from. Okay. So I'm just going to go ahead and put the guidance out now. We did get the guidance that I'm imposing is from Alana Fairchild's Rumi Oracle. We have commitment, card number 31, which is from page 139. I'll read that in the opening sermon. Okay, so let me go ahead and put the guidance down now because I feel the phlegm running through me. Oh, so we got it. Oh, okay, no, first we have a message to the reader. Yeah. And we're doing the moon in Libra, the new moon. So Libra came out right away. So what I'll do is when we have, whoa, we have it already. We're good. Okay. That's interesting. 75%, I mean, the full 100% of the connection came through. And we have commitment as for the opening sermon. This is from Alana Fairchild's Rumi Oracle. I'll be reading from card number 31 on page 139. The beginning poem opening sermon. The awakened heart is like a lantern. Keep it sheltered from the turbulence of the winds of desire. Rumi. And that's very true for me. Love for me is very spiritual. It almost is like the devotional path to the goddess. And it'll manifest into the physical from the spiritual once you're growing into that. If you're growing out of that or having difficulty in your practice, difficulty in your devotional path, what'll happen is the karmic aspect will manifest. We are candles lit by the one great flame. The breath of life does not extinguish us. On the contrary, it only serves our flame to blaze brighter. Here, in the temple of one love, there is no flickering or smoke to our flame. We are natural in our purpose, simple to bring the warmth and light of life. We dance, though we are stillness. We are on fire, though we do not burn. There is a flame that must be safeguarded. In truth, it can never be extinguished. It is the light that never goes out. Even with such enduring power, our recognition and respect of this flame is essential to human development. This flame is holy and lies within each human heart. When the flame is recognized for its worth, it ceases to flicker and smoke, becoming very still. In the stillness, the light can fulfill its destiny to shine brightly so as to reveal every path absolutely clear and without wavering in its fluctuations of fear and attachment. Desire does not have to be a hindrance on the path. It can show us our passions and help us find our purpose. However, the attachment that can come with desire, the belief that it can be sated only by one particular person, one set of circumstances, can cause us to stop looking at what the light is revealing to us, the way forward on our path, in the here and now, and instead try to forcibly conjure the shadows to become what we imagine they should be. What I'm picking up is that we should have a devotion to the eternal counterpart of this love. So the love is anchored into the physical. At the end, I'll give a little gift for those interested in the mission school. I'll talk a little bit about it. What I'm picking up is that there's an eternal aspect of love, and it's to the great flame, the great spirit. And the goddess will embody herself, the divine feminine will incarnate and embody herself through the divine feminine. And if you have an awareness, especially the divine masculine, if you have an awareness of that eternal flame, that part which can never be extinguished, you don't put all the stuff in front of that light and fail to recognize it. Actually, it's not about finding that light, it's about removing all the obstacles to it. So instead of focusing on how that great flame is going to fuel whatever venture, instead of focusing on how that energy manifests, it's better just to focus on the devotion, the object of your devotion, that love. And it may take on many forms, including many different physical forms, including through many different people. It's still the same energy. That love, that eternal love, may manifest through different people, places, and things. And the more you come into your true nature, your eternal self, our authentic self, our true nature, we will come to anchor that. I'm just going to check the camera real quick. We'll come to anchor our twin into the physical through a member of the soul group. So as I was saying, we have 100% of the soulmate connection. This spread, for those interested in the mission school, when we're doing a divine partnership assessment, it's 11 by 11 cards. And what we want is we want the physical counterpart of the divine feminine, of the divine masculine to come in. And we want the physical aspect of the, if we can, but the spiritual is still fine. We want the twin flame and the soulmate. So we have the physical counterpart of the divine masculine, which is the emperor. We have the physical counterpart of the divine feminine, which is the empress. We have the twin flame connection, which is the temperance, and we have the soulmate connection, which is the lovers. So the soulmate is a head or heart decision. It's when you use the physical chakras, because we actually have 13 chakras. We're 13 chakra beings. We are the chariot or the vehicle through which the 22 chakra beings, the devas, do their work upon the earth. We are the table upon which God does business. We are made in the image of the creator of this universe that we can perceive. So the Lover's card talks about making a head or heart decision based on the twin flame and or soulmate connection, but in the physical. So using the 7 physical chakras, mainly the bottom 6, the third eye down to the womb, down to the sacral chakra. If you're in fear, this Lover's card actually becomes the devil. So yeah, okay, you're still engaging from the bottom 6 chakras in the connection, but if you're engaging with the root, you're engaging from the devil card. So using all 13 chakras is the temperance, but also it's the, you two together equal a certain type of vibration by energy. There's also a spiritual counterpart. We call that the oversoul here in the 3rd dimension. The concept and idea of this mystery would be the oversoul. So the twin flame is also out in its physicality itself in the Lover's card. That's anchoring the twin flame from the spiritual into the physical. It's confirmed in positive even with the devil when we have the devil would make it a karmic relationship and not a twin flame, or it would negate its twin flame nature with the devil. It would talk about being in the karmic cycle. We do not have it. We actually have the Justice, La Justicia card here, and that would mean not only did you have the sacred flame anchored into the physical with that La Forza, lust, strength card, it's balanced, it's clean. With La Justicia, we also have Il Justizio, the judgment, which means it's blessed or christened on high. So we have a very exceptionally powerful reading. We enter into this cycle here, having left the previous cycle, with an accomplishment of agreements on the spiritual level. Not what had happened in the, mostly in the physical, in the spiritual. It's going to be stepping into the physical, this aspect of the cycle. It evolves into healing, resolution, aligning, working things out. The energy here is of qualification, moving into an ascended place, basically healing all the lower patches in the knowledge-based language structure. It's almost like preparing to qualify for something. So preparing to shift, preparing to move on out of the cycle, you have to acknowledge where you are in the cycle. So if we enter in the cycle accomplishing, ascending based off spiritual agreements, or accomplishing, ascending in the spiritual world, what's going to happen is energy starts anchoring into the physical. This could be over a long, long, long time. For the last year, for the last 7 years, we could have been trying to start. It's almost like an overnight success takes 10 years to prepare for. We evolve successfully incorporating, integrating at least the next step of whatever this is. For some of us, it could be a completion, not a combination, but a completion. Completion is 9, it means ascension. Combination is 10, it means descension. The ability to move in and out of that whole world of energy, whether it's an incarnation or a lifetime. It talks about dimension. The dimension is a measurable time, unmeasurable piece of time space. Time is the conveyor belt through which divinity and karma anchors into the physical. It reads as such that we accumulate, ascend, accomplish the founding, seeding of spiritual laws here, and it evolves into accomplishing, ascending spiritual power. The main focus is on anchoring into the physical, the sacred flame. It's answered, ascended, approved, and seated, enshrined. We have the obstacle, conflict, crossing, objection, being. We're finding that there's an aha moment over the next 2-3 weeks, or 2-3 weeks into this cycle. There will be an aha moment, an awakening, and a final decision. The values, especially in terms of worth, self-worth, are going to be acknowledged and ascended. Whatever reasons, means, mechanisms, purpose that the divine feminine had for withdrawing the energy in previous cycles will be recognized. On both sides, mainly the masculine, but the feminine will feel it on the subtle side. The sacrifice to be made in order to successfully complete the cycle or reap rewards from the energy that the cycle provides is to strike the will upon the universe in terms of the foundation here. It seems like a decision about a spiritual decision about this connection will be made on high, meaning realms above this one. I'm hearing the 7th and 8th dimension. Well, if you go to court in heaven, it's in the 8th dimension. the earth itself has a realm in the seventh dimension, and that's kind of like your higher self, your divine being. When we talk about our light bodies, it begins in the fifth dimension and ends in the seventh dimension, our light bodies. And it's being decided if that can anchor. Because there is in the multiverse, there is a parallel universe that exists where y'all are together, where we are with our twin connected. Now, we're two worlds below that world. What's being decided at the end of this cycle is whether the oversoul is going to transition us onto that more aligned timeline, or it's going to keep us in this low timeline. Now, I'm not seeing any toxicity, and all of the energy came out. I don't need to keep digging for gold. The gold is here, right here, right here. So we start with everything's here on the table for us as long as you participate in spiritual laws. There is a new beginning in terms of a partnership starting, and the partnership has clarity. It's a union. The union is seated with the divine feminine, and the guarantee is made by the divine masculine, meaning whatever problems we have here, we're going to negotiate, navigate through quite quickly. And as long as you're committed to feelings of openness and receptivity, and I'm committed to actions of clarity and emotional commitment, then we may be able to offer mutually beneficial, nourishing healing of expansion woes, meaning when a blessing is accepted, it oftentimes requires an increase in energy. If you get a new job, you got to wake up at a certain time. You may even have to wear a uniform or a suit or something of that nature. It may be easy for some, but for some, you have to invest in new clothes and gas and transportation and daycare. And, even a blessing, a new job can come with responsibilities or burdens. So what I'm noticing is the universe is looking at it in a detached way, like, hey, are you able to accept this blessing into your life? Are you energetically compatible? Not with the connection, but it is with the connection in general. Because it's like, basically, are you putting in minutes? Are you devoted to the divine? For the divine to step into your life and participate, navigate with you, co-create with you in the third dimension. So I'm finding that the divine feminine really begins to have some strong ideas spiritually. And they have some drive, desires, passions, motivations that are going to begin to be seated in the physical. They will eventually end up aligning with the authenticity of their nature, and the journey that they go on is one of pilgrimage, spiritual ascension, active participation, showing up, negotiating, navigating, co-creating with the universe for the purposes of spiritual ascension. Unfortunately, the feminine is going to need to use strength, courage, and wisdom to overcome, I don't have a word for this, stinking thinking. The masculine will need to show movement, expansion, accomplishment, triumph, and victory of equally beneficial, nourishing needs exchange. If they show up selfish, one-sided, lopsided, okay, so that might not have been stinking thinking. It might, another translation might be that the divine feminine is just looking for a way forward, and even if the energy touches base again, if the needs aren't clearly shown to be able to be solved immediately, So divine masculine, the guidance I would give you is like, if you show up, first of all, the past will come up rather briefly. Don't have it be prickly at all. It's pure emotion. So one thing I can tell the masculine, well, is be vulnerable. And when you do address past situations, make sure you're able to say, well, this is what was going on then, that and this is what's going on now. And that's why I'm confident that that might not be repeated. For example, okay, I'm trying to like simplify a lot of data that I'm getting at the moment. How do I explain what I'm seeing? Okay, if we start out with the seeding of agreements and we end up with the aligning of agreements, anchoring those into the physical, we have to face both the sacrifice to be made and the conflict. And the driving desire to face those things is the focus. Well, the focus on the feminine is all about growth, but the growth comes from strength, courage, and wisdom, because at the current or previous time, they had stinking thinking, the divine feminine, where whatever they thought in their mind anchored itself in their heart. So if they had fears, doubts in the mind, that's what they were calling from the universe. And all of these foundations were dissolving because they had some pessimistic thinking, some lack of hope, faith, and optimism. And listen, you can be wounded sometimes because you're truthfully destitute. But whenever you see this energy, it means that you cannot find your own worth. Well, the masculine is responding by coming with a high vibration. So they can step to that at all. And if the feminine is in a place of stinking thinking, I'm saying it that way for lack of better wording. If the relationship is not working, it's always the divine masculine's fault. Now, I say that as the rule and not the exception. There will be a few exceptions, but that is the exception, not the rule. By default, if there's a conflict, it's the divine masculine's fault. Now, even if that is not the case, that the divine feminine is at fault, it's like a syntax error. So it would only be found that on the second or third appeal, not the first trial. If charges ever get brought against the masculine, I mean like proverbial. Well, hey, honey, we have a conflict. Let's address this. Always the divine masculine is at fault. Okay, so let me just put that disclaimer, read you in, because this month it feels like the divine masculine is going to be giving an extra push. So in one sense, the power is vested in the feminine and commanded by the masculine, and it would seem like this month the feminine grants the masculine privileges, and it does need to happen. What's surprising is that the masculine comes through and lays it down, pardon the pun, but really delivers on whatever level. There's many different interpretations, but on whatever level, the masculine does come through and deliver. Put it down. I'm hearing that. We don't have the tower. We do have one ace of wands. Just so you know, the ace of wands, for those in the mystery school, is an erect phallus. And the ace of cups, which is not here, we have the ace of swords. The ace of cups is well, okay, so when you're worshiping at the altar of a woman, that's worshiping at the altar. When you're worshiping at the altar of a man, that's worshiping at the throne. Okay, so we have the throne here, but the ace of cups would be the altar, just so you know. For whatever reason, oh, we do have the ace of cups. Okay, so three aces. So this is the expansion of a current union. And it feels like the union is coming back because we don't have the union anchored. I would say that the union dissipated And the union was actually in the hands of the masculine. It was seated, anchored into the hands or the womb of the feminine. And there's a recognition of it because there's a spiritual ascension which can finally be anchored into the physical. When we stop seeing life as it is, showing up for us every moment and engaging with us as it is, we can become careless with the light of the heart. Our huffing and puffing to force what does not need to be forced can cause the heart light to flicker and waver. This can make our way seem uncertain, and doubts can crowd in upon us as the light is compromised in its purpose. We forget to trust in what is because we get caught up in the attachment and the fear of surrounding our desires rather than letting life move us. We try to move life. There's a way forward on your life path that needs to be seen by you now. It will be helpful for you to have the clarity and that certainty. You might have already caught a glimpse of it by doubting your vision of yourself. This oracle comes as a reminder to you. Do not doubt. What you are feeling deep within you is passionate love of the heart light. It is the truth. It is real. You're being led into this by the progress of life itself. You must trust in it even if at times as though you were being led away from your vision. Yeah, this is true. This is true. This is true. What I'm seeing is that both parties want to be solo with that hermit in the middle as the combined energy. They want to be isolated. They want to be alone to themselves. The feminine still feels love. She's coming back to that recollection. I do feel like she feels she's moved on, moved forward from whatever the stuck energy was. The masculine is finding themselves much more willing and able to give when they weren't before, for whatever reason. The reason is not clear at this time to me. It's almost as if they have each other in their hand, but their backs are facing. So the divine feminine has the divine masculine in her hand. The divine masculine has the divine feminine in his hand. And they're both have their backs are facing each other. They have their backs to each other. So the sacrifice to make is the feminine needs to recognize the masculine. There is recognition, but it's a resistance right now. Because when they focus on the connection, they're under the impression, this is the divine feminine, they're under the impression that they've overcome something that's still going to have to be dealt with. If the divine feminine comes back, I can't say there'll be no problems, but the problems they have will be different problems than before. And that is a real connection. You climb one mountain, you climb the next mountain, you climb the next mountain, you climb the next mountain. Because if that doesn't happen, mountain climbing, there's no healing together, so it immediately converts back to the karmic. The reason that the soulmate connection converts to the twin flame is because an opportunity for healing comes up, and the connection, they don't turn towards the darkness, they turn towards the light. So they turn towards the darkness, both parties, and they found the light on their own. And there's no cards bringing them back to each other. What we have is each individual party recognizes the connection individually, both of them. They recognize the other one and the connection in and of themselves, to themselves, unto themselves. So I'm curious what the next cycle looks like. Because we do evolve with, well, alignments, reconciliations, payments of debt, all types of things. So we could easily go into November, December cuffing season, recognizing the connection in the physical. It's 100%. I have never seen 100% come out in the reading on the very first draw. I normally need to keep going. So that's what I was waiting for, the Wheel of Fortune, because it will step into the physical. That's the door. It all is here. But this happens in the next cycle. Oh my gosh. And the card this month is commitment. Ooh, wow. That is so freaking beautiful, man. Wow. And it's so rare that I'm tickled. I'm just so tickled. I think it's cute, but it's also heartache, you know. The divine feminine and the divine masculine, they are so on each other's minds, but they are like very they've withdrawn their energy. They're not sharing. I'm like that, obstinate. I don't want to give them nothing, especially after I get butt hurt. I'm not inclined to get off the throne and give chase. It's not like that, because with the Wheel of Fortune, it's the universe will put it together. The divine masculine will, it's something that the divine masculine does. The divine feminine just has to change her insides around, and the divine masculine will externally appear. The divine feminine internally has a lot of blockages right now. They perceived harm and or crisis. Really what it was ego. The divine masculine, with their clarity, was giving the divine feminine a lot of ego challenges to overcome within themselves. And part of them healing from the wounding that the divine masculine was present for was cutting off whatever carte blanche freedoms they were giving away to everybody, most particularly the divine masculine. So the divine feminine had to cut off the spigot completely in order to find that strength, courage, and wisdom. And now that the divine feminine has all that, an abundance of strength, courage, and wisdom, the blockages, the walls have dissipated. There's no more repelling of energy. Actually, the only energy being repellent is the mind. The mind is still resistant because the heart has been blocked out. So the sacrifice to make is to be clear about the masculine. The sacrifice to make on the masculine side is to commit fully to this connection, or to, yeah, the divine feminine. Wow. Masculine, I can tell you very clear. The divine feminine felt like you did not give her enough attention. Okay, so this is really for the mystery school, what I'm about to tell you. I don't want to proselytize too much. Uh, it's bad form to instruct and inform at the same time, but I'm being called to do so. I'm confused, so my behavior might be unmessy and inelegant, unrefined. Bear with me. All right, so here's the model. I was recently sharing this with a sister in the temple community. If a woman, so for the divine masculine, let me talk to the men. If a woman comes into your life and by definition you aren't upgraded, you're in the wrong. Because if there's a goddess near you, and you go on the devotional path to that goddess, her bounty will fall upon you, especially if she's already anchored into the physical. If conflict is coming out, it should be very smooth and very quick and very easy, because well, I mean, there's goddesses required. There's certain goddesses you can't work with if you're not vegetarian. There's certain goddesses who won't even talk to you if you don't grow roses. There are certain goddesses who, to fuck with the goddess, you gotta come correct. And it's different stuff for different folks. Different goddesses want different things. So the masculine is in the position now where they're devoted to that goddess. Previously masculine, the feminine was feeling slept on. Now I can see you were overwhelmed. You had a lot of different cups. We call that overwhelmed. No. Take a stand in your relationship. Drive forward towards this connection. Life operates according to a genius that is beyond a linear approach. It is to be trusted rather than to be understood. There is enough challenge in the personal transformation being asked of you to simply take the steps. That is more than enough. You do not need to have, or you do not have to also create or control the terrain, not determine the map for the journey. You simply need to take each step that presents itself to you in each moment. Do not let fear that your desire will not manifest because you try to bend life to your will. It is an unnecessary battle and one that will not serve your soul here. Instead, just show up, be present, attend to what is before you in each moment, and trust yourself. Let the light of your heart take you into serenity that will bring you the calm of a solid core of comfort. Even whilst the world shifts and changes according to the workings of divine will all around you, as you move along your life journey, step by step, the divine will is moving you to shining one into fulfillment of your destiny. This is. Life is not working to cross purposes with you, far from it. It is a co-conspirator. That is literally what it says, co-conspirator with your heart. Come back to the stillness of the love within and know your heart light to be what it is, reliable and true, showing you the even way now, in peace and in stillness. So you can say a prayer, I call upon the sacred flame of divine love now, is basically the chant. So the situation is as such. We are under this impression that we are done with the connection, or that this person was this way when I was last involved with them. I can very clearly see the divine masculine, their focus right now is accepting the fact that they're going to need to steadily put into this love. For whatever reason, they were able to justify attention, affection, adoration going places other than the divine feminine. The divine masculine is going to need to accept that their heart, their love, their connection is that divine masculine. they are probably somewhat under the impression that they've moved on either from that specific person or that specific conflict. So some of the divine feminine are fighting in their mind whatever the obstacle in the connection was before. The divine masculine is facing the change in behavior they need to make so that that's not an obstacle anymore. For whatever reason, you're going to be in your heart blocking the divine feminine. You're going to be in your heart blocking the divine masculine, either because of him as a person, and some of you is going to be because of the obstacle that was there before. So that same energy is not going to come back unless you're emitting it from your own heart, the divine feminine. And that person that you knew that was not giving you or helping you get your needs met in the connection, that person is dead. They're not available to you anymore. So their body may show up, but the spirit alive in that vessel is evolved. I'm gonna pull one archetype because this reading doesn't have a lot of clarity. Virgin. For me, that this means a lot of innocence and purity. Instead of fear of an intimate union, maintaining symbolic purity of heart and spirit. It's been an honor and pleasure to serve you today. Thank you for allowing me the privilege and the pleasure to do so.